Welcome to Gina's Table. I'm so glad that you're here this week. I think that there are so many things that bring people around the table. As I've been thinking about all of the reasons that we might gather around tables, it can be a wide variety of things. Maybe we gather around a good cup of coffee or a good piece of avocado toast. Or maybe you gather around a table over your latest read or the latest game, or maybe it's a gourmet meal. We gather around the table not simply to nourish our bodies, but to nourish our souls and our minds. And I love that about the table. I love that there's multiple reasons why people gather at tables. We work business deals and we tell jokes and we do art projects. The table is such an expansive way for us to build community and to get to know people. And so this week, I am going to be talking about books. The books that I'm reading, the books that I've read, and how important it is, and how this little aspect of reading, something that I enjoy, is broadening my community. It's given me opportunity to know new people. I'm hosting a book club once a month in my home, and we're picking a book and then discussing it. But it's not just simply about getting to know or evaluating a book. It's about getting to know people and do life with people and hear what's going on in their lives from day to day. And so I love the ability to gather around many different things. And if you know me at all, you know that I am an avid reader. I love to read. My goal every year is 50 books. This year I upped it a little and said I'm going to read 60. Now, to be fair, I've only read 13, so I'm a little bit behind where I need to be able to reach that goal. But I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't quite make it to 60, because I enjoy reading and I never want it to be something where I'm going, oh my goodness, I'm not getting this done. And so 60 and setting a goal is just something that I'm aiming for, that I try to get to, because I really do believe that reading is so important. I would prefer to read than scroll or watch a movie. And I have a rule that if there is a movie that has been made that was a book, you must read the book first, because movies ruin the book. Oh my goodness, I could go on and on about all the movies I've seen that are books that have been ruined because they've been made a movie. And so that's my own rule. You can apply it to your life if you want, but no need. So go ahead and grab your favorite drink, whether that's a cup of coffee or an iced tea or something else, and join me at the table as we talk about some books this week on Gina's Table. I read a good mix of fiction and nonfiction, and I have a couple of books that I literally read every year. And I'm just going to share with you some of the books that have had the greatest impact on me, and then I'm going to tell you about a nonfiction and a fiction that I've read this year. I'll give you a quick review, and so hopefully you'll find something in here for you, regardless if you think you're a reader or not. Here's the thing, I've told my kids since they were little that readers are leaders, because reading just expands our mind. It doesn't just simply expand our knowledge, but it also grows our imagination. And perhaps it takes us to places that we may never get to go because we get to read and learn about it. I also understand that we have the internet at our tips and we can research and do so many things, but I love being able to pick up a book and read. And so I just love that about reading. And so if I were picking a favorite genre of books that I read more than any other, it would probably be historical fiction, mainly because I love history and I love being able to use my imagination around the things that have happened in history. And so a good historical fiction book is always going to be a good fit for me. Being able to learn a little bit about maybe something that happened in the past with a great story is just awesome. And I know that historical fiction doesn't speak everybody's language. So what is it that you love to read about? Maybe you are a leadership and you have read every one of John Maxwell's leadership books. He's kind of an old school leadership guy. I find that if I mention that name to millennials or younger, some millennials, but usually the younger generation looks at me like, John who? And so anyway, we all have just different choices of books. The libraries are full of books. Every time I walk into a bookstore, it's like heaven. And so I love reading. Now you should know that I also would love to have my own personal library. And according to Google, your own personal library will consist of 1,000 or more books. And I am well on my way. I think I am about 800-ish books currently, counting our children's books and all of my commentaries and Bibles and Bible studies and fiction and memoir and biography and nonfiction. I am well on my way. It's so funny, when I went to start organizing my books, my lovely technical husband decided we needed an app to scan every book so that we knew what books that I have. And that became a little bit of a nightmare project, but we did do it, and it was kind of fun in the end. But Jason, for my anniversary last year, got me beautiful, beautiful bookcases that even has a ladder that you can climb up. And so I am living my library dream here. And so anyway, we are here today to talk about books. And I hope that you'll stick with me, even if you don't fall into the reader category. Maybe there will be something in here that we talk about today that will, spoke your interest, and you will want to read at least something. One of the books that has probably changed my life the most, I was asked that question recently, if I could pick one book that changed my life, what would it be? And I was like, I don't know. But when I was preparing for this and thinking about that question in the moment, in my early 20s, when I was having babies, there was a good friend of mine in our church who did a class on the 7 habits of highly effective families. I believe the first book that Stephen Covey did was Highly Effective People. And this book became so foundational for me. I have read it many times. I have given copies away. I have highlights and notes and everything you can imagine in this book. And one of the things that I found so important about this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families, was it really gave me a foundation and language around what Jason and I were trying to do when it came to replanting our family tree. It talked about creating a pause button. And if you listen to our podcast on marriage, you know that I talked about how I could go from 0 to 60 pretty quick. And so understanding what it meant to create a pause was really, really important for me. And it became just something that I really, really could relate to. Again, this book just gave me language for what I was trying to do. And one of the other things that he talks about is a flight plan. You know, you can't get on a plane and end up in your destination unless you have a flight plan. Say that 3 times real fast. And that also was really good for Jason and I as we were thinking about our family and our life and what did our plan and what did we want that to look like. And now that we're kind of on the other side of raising kids and different things like that, I still can go back to these 7 habits and say these are things that I need no matter where I'm at, whether I'm a wife, whether I'm being a mom, whether I'm a pastor, whether I'm interacting with other people. These are just really good foundational truths. So if you have never read or looked at any of Stephen Covey's things, I know it's dated and this book has been around a really long time, but it's been really, really good for me, was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. And again, my good friend Stephanie taught that a long, long time ago when we were in church together, and it was just really pivotal for me. And so then there is another book that I read every year without fail over the last probably at least 12 years, if not longer. And that is Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Haley Barton. And this book has just been life-giving to me over and over and over. And in this book, I've got almost the whole thing highlighted. But one of the things that she says in here, and I'm just going to read it for you, is strengthening the soul of our leadership is an invitation that begins, continues, and ends with seeking God in the crucible of ministry It is an invitation to stay connected with our own soul, that very private place where God's Spirit and my spirit dwell together in union, and to lead from that place. There is powerful truths in this book, and it reminds me how important it is as a leader, as someone who has the responsibility of leading others and giving advice and spiritual advice and growing, helping others grow, how important it is for my soul to have those moments of quiet and peace and a place where I can find the Lord speaking to me. And so this book gets read every year. Again, it's probably, most of it has been underlined, highlighted, notes, because it's just been such a powerful book for me over the last 10 to 12 years. And again, it gets read every year, and it's pretty close at hand, so I can just grab it and look for that one chapter, you know, that speaks to me or that reminds me of something that I'm going through in that moment. And so this I recommend for anybody in leadership, in ministry. This is a great book. Again, some of these are getting pretty dated now, but I just think are staples to my library. And so the next book that I have read a lot and have given away a ridiculous amount of copies to is A Tale of Three Kings. And if you are in any type of leadership, actually just life in general, this is an excellent read. As you can tell, it's not a very big book, but it is a powerful, powerful book. What do you do when someone throws a spear at you? And gosh, I wish I could just read the whole book to you right now, but what I'm telling you is this is the story of three kings, and how sometimes they're the hero and sometimes they're the villain. And so often in our own stories, sometimes we're the hero and sometimes we're the villain, and understanding our role and how we react in all sorts of different situations is powerful. So again, I've given away, I bet, 50 copies of this book, A Tale of Three Kings. Pick it up, read it. It is an incredible read for life and leadership. Now, what am I currently reading? So this year, as I said, I'm in a book club, read 13 books. Probably my favorite fiction book that I have read this year, but I have let someone borrow it, so I don't have it to show you, is called The Woman by Kristen Hanna. And it is based on the stories of nurses that were coming back from Vietnam. And the Vietnam War intrigues me not simply because it was part of history, but because my dad is a Vietnam vet, and I currently have him writing his story of his time there. And so when I saw this book, I immediately was like, yes, I'm going to read that. This book, The Woman, absolutely made me ugly face cry. While it's not based on a true story, it is taken in context of what was happening and how men and women were treated when they came back from Vietnam. And it is just, it's a powerful story. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of fear and shame and guilt and hate and all the things that they encountered as they were coming back from war, but also how some of that was redeemed later in their lives. And so highly, highly, highly recommend picking up a copy of Kristen Hanna's new book, The Woman, and reading that. My second favorite book that I have read this year in fiction, and it's called The Silent Patient. Now, it is a psychological thriller, and you will not want to put it down. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. It will keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's about a wife who kills her husband and goes silent. She doesn't speak and ends up in a mental hospital, and you won't see the end coming. I won't give anything away, but I promise you will not regret reading this book, especially if you like psychological thrillers, something that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. I read this book in a few hours. So Silent Patient, definitely a good read. Again, just a really good book. Keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time. I've read a couple others this year like that, but I'll save those for later to talk about. But you will want to pick this one up. This is what I'm going to keep on my shelf because it is definitely one I would read again, and that is saying something. Most of the books that I keep are meaningful to me. I think they're great. Oh my goodness, if I start thinking about all the great books that I've read, we don't have time for all of that. So anyway, the last one that I am going to talk about today, I really wish would have been released about 6 months ago instead of just 3 weeks ago. And this one is How to Walk into a Room by Emily P. Freeman, The Art of Knowing When to Stay and When to Walk Away. Whoa, let me just tell you, this book packs a punch. I read it quickly all the way through, and now I am reading it through the second time, underlining, journaling, answering questions, doing some soul searching in the middle of this book. And let me just tell you that this is powerful. It's just a powerful book. All of us will have to decide whether today, tomorrow, next year, have already in our lives which rooms we're going to stay in, which rooms we're going to leave. And there's a discerning process that goes with that. Some of them are just easy, natural. I know that it's time for me to leave this room. I graduate from high school, and I'm no longer in high school. I graduate from college. I'm no longer in college. Those are natural endings to rooms that we take up space in. But what do we do when you're in different spaces that are requiring you to discern what you're going to do? And the way Emily just walks you through her own story. This is not a formula for us to do and figure out, well, this is what we do, or this is what we do. No, this is nothing like that. But this is her story of discernment and what she has looked at and done to know when a room no longer fits us, or when it does, when you know to celebrate that. And so often I think we get stuck and we don't know what to do when we've been in a room for so long that it's comfortable, and we know that we know the furniture, we know the scratches on the wall, we know the vibe, and just understanding our journey. And one of the things that she points out, the part that I'm at right now again, is knowing who we are, so that we know which rooms we're supposed to be in. So if you are in a time of question of how to walk into a room, how to know when to walk out of a room, I highly recommend this book. She has a podcast, The Next Right Thing, which is from a book that she wrote, The Next Right Thing. Go listen to her, pick up this book. You won't be sorry. I'm giving this book a 5 out of 5 as well. It would be one that I would share with others and hand out copies of. And it's just a great, great resource for your soul and for you to read and be able to walk through discernment in your own life. And so those are my book reviews for this week. But I just want to say, regardless if you read for fun or for learning, reading is an entry point for a deeper understanding of ourselves, of our world, and our community. And it can also be a way for you to find people that you can grow and learn with as well. That's what I love about books. Think about when you started school, if you can think that long ago. Think about those times that you had to be around a table at school to learn something, and there was a book to read or to research. And what happens is you gain a deeper understanding of how people work together, how they learn their stories by being in those spaces. And so again, regardless if you are reading for fun or for learning, I encourage you to find somebody that you can read a book with and learn and grow together. It's a great starting point for community. Now, I told you there was a lot of new things that I was going to be announcing this week. Sadly, I have been fighting a cold all week, and so Table Talk Tuesday didn't exactly go as planned. But if you follow me on my social media, you know that I asked the question, if you were sitting around a table with people, where would you travel if you could go any place in the world, and why? I loved seeing some of your responses, and if you have yet to send in your response, there's still time. I would love to see and hear from you. But if I were answering that question, I would say the pastor in me, the Christ follower in me would say Israel. I would love to go and walk in the literal steps that Jesus walked on his time here on earth. And so I always tell people, can we just say that's a given? But then if I thought about all the other places that I would want to go, I would love to go to Germany and Rome and France and England and Thailand and Vietnam and so much more. As you can tell, this question is really hard for me to answer because I think traveling, like books, takes us to places that we can learn and grow and experience new things. And so that's what I love about it. And so I hope that you found out something new about someone that you love, or maybe you're building a relationship with. If you ask the question, where would you travel? Where would you go? What would you do? Why would you go there? And so this is Table Talk Tuesday. We'll be back on Tuesday. It'll be a little more in depth than what it was last week because I was running a fever and not feeling well. But there is also a couple other new things that I want to tell you about. And that is, I'm going to start hosting live events at the table. That means I'm going to be inviting people around the table to build community, to share vision, and talk about how you can start your own table. So if you live in the KC area, if you're in the Kansas City area, I'm going to be announcing some dates and times that you can sign up for. So I'm really excited about this next step. Now, if you live outside of the KC area, I am going to be available for what I'm calling Zoom table. That means that you set the table, you invite the people, and I will join via Zoom and be able to walk you through what it means to start a table, to dive deeper into community, to build authentic relationships around the table. And then I'm also hoping to, this summer and fall, do some table events in different locations. And that means I can come to you. So stay tuned for more information on that. And if you would like to be part of any of that, please send me a note. But I'm excited about what this next stage of Gina's Table looks like. And I want us to be intentional about bringing people around the table so they can feel welcome and more connected and build relationships. And however you're going to do that, maybe it is going to be over books. Maybe it's going to be over a good cup of coffee. Maybe it's going to be, you figure it out, right? But whatever it is, I'm excited about what's going to take place around your table. So thank you for joining Gina's Table again this week. And I can't wait to see you on Tuesday at Table Talk Tuesday.